Welcome back, everyone, to Nopes and Opes. Sorry about my voice. I'm a little sick, so it's a little rough. But here we are, back again.
Well, I think actually, doesn't my voice always sound like that?
Yeah. So actually, welcome to the sexiest podcast in the business.
No, I mean, like-
voices that just sound amazing.
Yeah, but like I'm listening to your voice and I'm like, oh, maybe I just always sound sick.
Yeah, you should get that checked out. Maybe you have like a deviated septum or something that
Yeah,
prevents you from being able to talk.
dang,
Yeah.
I never thought of it that
Well,
way.
but the thing is, when you're sick, it's probably even deeper.
Yeah, it gets really, really deep
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, well, it's official. We're back together. This is the first time we've actually been able to see each other in about a month.
And I just got to say right away, I'm super excited.
Me too.
Like I've been super excited. We've kind of known that we were going to do this weekend for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been super excited to come, even though the drive is not the most exciting drive in
It's
the world.
not beautiful. It's about a lot of Iowa. So,
It's a lot of Iowa.
Yeah.
But no, I'm super stoked. I've super, super missed. So yeah, I just want to say I'm super excited. I'm really happy to be back.
Yeah.
And it's been a long month,
it has been.
right? It feels weird. Like I find it so strange to be like missing, like, oh, I don't get to record the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, man? Like,
Right.
that's not fun.
Yeah. And I mean, same. Like, I've genuinely missed being able to talk about it. Like, I can't really have these conversations with the people in my daily life because they would find it exhausting.
You are, though, having a lot of these conversations,
funny enough,
right?
I say that as part of people listening to the podcast now, when they want to talk to me about it, I have some pretty deep philosophical conversations that I'm not always, it's not that I have any problem with it. Like, if you ever want to talk about it, feel free.
Oh,
But sometimes I'm like, oh, I just wanted to joke around and be goofy.
Yeah.
Like, I get that feel, kind of. Sometimes it's like, we're thinking about too much, but
yeah,
no.
but just think of all the like cool things you'll be able to put on your door when you finally get your own office and you've reached the top level.
philosopher,
And,
therapist.
just Rowan Hanold.
Yeah.
Like philosopher extraordinaire, podcaster,
Entrepreneur,
genius,
all that stuff.
executive producer,
Model, maybe one of these days.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
Yeah.
But as you can see, this is a different setting. We are now in Peoria. So the Minnesota apartment is no more. I've officially moved out, back in with my parents, and it's nice. As a little update, last we spoke about me being in Minnesota, it wasn't the most happy go.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important, like this one, just to kind of like reintroduce
Yeah.
the normal, highly functioning, very charismatic, very engaging, like very likable Rowan.
Yeah.
I think we presented
a darker version.
Yeah, it's like that was not. I like looking back now, and I think some of the comments and things that you received, and some of my friends reaching out and like, "Is Rowan okay?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, he's fine." But
A lot of people were very worried.
Yeah, I think the image that we presented was like kind of worrisome for sure.
I think, as we've talked about, authenticity is one of the most important things for us. So what we talked about, like, that was real. Like the kind of state of mind I was in, and I'm honestly happy to share it because there were a lot of people that reached out that also had felt that they had been in the same boat, and it was kind of like affirming, or just it was a nice place to connect with people, to be like, oh, you know what, like, I've gone also through a tough time. It's cool to hear someone else go through something similar.
I think in that regard, like maybe mix this up a little bit, and we take it a different route, and we kind of go like we talk about, because like this morning we had an awesome conversation just about like how anxiety gets the best of all of us, and some of the coping techniques that we use, and I think that would be super valuable, because I think what you went through and are going through as a 20-something-year-old, I think there's a lot of 20, like right now our main audience is a little bit, well, like me, right? Like mostly my friends and people that I knew and kind of older. But I mean, ultimately, like I think both of us agree, the ultimate goal is to help give some guidance and some perspective and things for some younger generations?
Yeah, I think it's for both. I think the best part about us having Nope and Ope, having the two different generations, we'll call it, is that one, I hope that people of my generation can listen to it, hopefully listen to some of the things you've said or the things that the Opes have shared in emails and be like, oh, like even people as they've grown older have learned from their mistakes, but are still making them, but you can be more prepared and not as worried. And then for people my age to kind of share in like, oh, there's someone else that is going through something that's hard and is also struggling, but is trying to make the most of it and have a better mentality about it than playing, the victim or being, upset about it. Like I like to think of this as not a journal, but you can see the life moments that we've had. I mean, this is going to be around our 30th episode, which is insane. But like you can actually see if you go from the first episode, granted they weren't video, but if you listen, you can kind of hear like how things are going on in my life and in your life and how like our perspective changes. There's a few episodes where it's like, man, they're really happy. And then there's a few episodes where like, oh man, it's kind of like a darker, bleaker episode.
Yeah.
And like, it's just the bobs and waves, right in the wave of life. And I think that's kind of a fun thing to share with people.
Well, in a way, like it is a real-time journal, right? Yeah. Like you are, like if you do listen or watch or whatever, you are kind of seeing, and both you and I are not really good at hiding.
No.
Like you're going to see, like if we're up, we're up. If we're down, we're down. And you're going to hear about it and you're going to be able to see it or whatever. But yeah, and I think that's really cool. I think that's something that people respond to very well. But I think for me, can I just take a moment though? Because you, like as I was coming yesterday, you told me that we had, or I don't know, sometime this week, whatever, some pretty big milestones. And I realize this. I think it's so funny because some of the things that get me excited are like so minimal, and like other people are looking at that and they're just like, you're an idiot. Like like you're nowhere near where you need to be. Yeah. But for me, I'm just like, what? We did that? Yeah. Like, so the 30, like we're at 20, like this week, the one that we release will be close to 30. Like we don't know when we're going to release this.
Not, behind the curtain. So as of tomorrow, that Monday, that'll be the 28th episode that's been released.
So, but like in the end, like I feel a little bit badly because we missed, like I wanted to celebrate our 25th. Yeah. Like for me, 20 was huge, but 25 was just like, no way. Like that's impossible. Yeah. There's no way that we did 25 episodes. So I feel a little bit badly. And hopefully on that 30th week, maybe we can do something special or whatever. But just kind of as props to yourself, to the people that have supported us this whole time. And hopefully we've done a good job in kind of recognizing you and kind of making you feel appreciated. But just it's been an incredible journey. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. I can't believe actually how much fun and how rewarding this has been. I thought this was just going to be kind of hell, like just kind of ultimate torture. But I am a little bit embarrassed to admit it, but I freaking love recording these. Yeah. I love the feedback. I love when people say, hey, I listened and I'm loving it. So for 30 episodes, I'm just incredibly grateful. I like all the work that you do. I mean, legit, I think it's 2% me and 98% Rowan handled. So that's huge. And then like something that I just find amazing, and again, the numbers are not, they're not they're kind of laughable for in
they're not insane. We're a small podcast, but like we are a podcast. Like we've hit a milestone that not a lot of podcasts make. So I'm proud of it.
Yeah. And the 1,000 listens on Spotify, I think is like, that just boggles my mind. I don't actually understand why people have listened 1,000 times, but it's super cool. And I just, I can't.
Well, 950 of those were just me when I listened back.
Well, whatever
so
it takes.
So it's actually like really just like 50.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take it. But I just, just kind of like congratulations, like props to you and everybody involved.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really cool. And I hope that kind of moving forward, because like it's just, like I think the last 2 months have kind of shown how difficult it can be and how many struggles
Yeah.
you do have to overcome, and how I think it's really interesting to me to see how willing I am to continue this,
Yeah.
right? Because it is a 6.5 hour drive. And then tomorrow morning I'll wake up at 5 o'clock and drive back. And it's just like, whoa, like you're willing to do that just for
No,
like what I originally labeled this as just a stupid podcast. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the stupid podcast and then it's gonna be over and da da da.
I am just as surprised as you. Like, I mean, I love being able to have you come here, and like we always have a great time. We always have good chemistry, but like it's work. Like it's
a lot of work.
It's a lot of things to do for something that is a hobby, but I can tell we're both passionate about it. So for me, it doesn't feel like just something I do on the side as a hobby. It's more of like a passion project.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny enough, like it's really important for me because these types of conversations, I think, keep me much more aware of my surroundings. Like I've talked with Highland as I've been home, I've felt like I've gotten a little complacent because I don't have as much responsibility.
Yeah.
And getting to have these conversations again, because I don't have these with my parents because they'd be exhausted if I was like, hey, let's sit down and talk about, the intricacies of the world and what's going on. But it keeps my brain focused and moving, and it's important for me. Like I was talking to Emmett, and I was like, oh yeah, Highland's coming this weekend. I was like, I think it's gonna be really good as like a nice like little reset back into the mindset I had in Minnesota. Because the more I'm here, the more kind of the Peoria fog is drawn over my brain, and I'm like, no, like don't get complacent. Like keep you want to keep moving forward, keep doing stuff. So
I think that's kind of funny because I'm the last person that you would think that would have any sort of like, hey, you got to focus, you got to kind of like pick it up. And
no, but I mean, you've been like, as we've talked about, so last we spoke, the last episodes that have been recorded were all in the span of the last month of me being in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So we try to just like, crank out as many as we could while we were still together. And in one of them, I had mentioned like, you had been a super helpful factor in just like my time in Minnesota and just like being a great friend. And even now, like we talked on the phone maybe like 2 weeks ago, just kind of like catching up. We hadn't talked in a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I started to tell you about like kind of the people around the sphere of influence. And we were like, oh, buddy, like that's not good. And I was like, you're right, man. And it gets, I don't know, like we're kind of holding each other accountable in a way to be like, hey, man, like you can't fall complacent and forget about those things.
For me, I mean, like a really, really big part of the magic for me is there is accountability.
Yeah.
I do have to take care of some financial things. I do have to kind of like get things in order for this to happen and this to happen. But also like beyond that, like that's an important aspect. Absolutely. Yep. Like that's a life aspect.
Yep.
But kind of like on an emotional, spiritual level, these conversations, these moments, which sounds really weird to me to say because it's like, being on camera is like not my favorite, right? But it's really healing. It's really therapeutic to me. Yeah. Like when, no matter how it goes, even if it's the crappiest, worst episode ever, we get done and I'm like, oh, that was awesome. Like I feel much better. And
it's kind of like a workout for the brain, like after there's some kind of relief, if you will.
Well, and I think too, like we talk about like mirror imaging and things like that, like how the brain works and just like being in connection with people. And I think like this is a kind of a good segue into what I would like to talk about here because I feel like we could kind of focus on like taking care of yourself because I think in the world today, like we're not doing a great job taking care of ourselves. Yeah. And
I had actually a lot of thoughts about this recently, but continue.
We're isolating ourselves. Well, that's it. But for me, I just feel like I love connecting. It's really like, Like,
Yeah.
how does this relationship work? I don't understand it at all. Like, it's really weird. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
if I saw it
anytime-
on paper, I'd be like,
Well, Eddie, and the funny thing is
something's worrisome
now
about that.
I refer to Highland as my 50-year-old boyfriend. Like, that's how I refer to him because he comes and visits me in my home with my parents and whatnot.
We take walks together.
We do. We sit out. We
go
have
for
a
romantic
bonfire.
dinners. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
but it
it
is funny to me how the way that this works, and it has continued.
I don't get it, but it works really, really well, buddy.
Yeah, I'm very
appreciate
happy it does. Well, to kind of get on topic with what we were saying, we kind of got, I'm doing well, by the way. Just the last thing about being in Peoria from Minnesota. Was in kind of a rough state. Now doing much better financially, catching up, a lot less responsibility. My parents have been great, just accepting me and having me around. So that's been great. So I'm doing well. No need to be worried. But what I think we should talk about is kind of what you were hinting at. Is I had wrote something down because as I've been here, I've felt that there have been certain things that I've become complacent in. And then I've tried to kind of branch out to others and, started to like make friends and kind of talk to other people. But what I've realized is like you have to show up for yourself. Like that was a big concept that's been happening in my mind recently is that like I've been getting into lifting again and all that stuff because a lot of the times where.
Yeah, real quick. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
You look physically great, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Really, really good. I look like the first thing that I noticed when you came outside to like say hello. I was like, "Dang, Rowan is looking buff, man. Looking really good." So, okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But it was this kind of I was struggling with certain things of, like you have certain people that you talk to, and in this life, like no one really cares about what you do in your day-to-day life. Like everyone's pretty much focused on their own individual life and what's going on.
Not pretty much. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And so, if you get into a state where you hope that people will care about you and they'll do stuff for you, you start to realize that like no one is doing those things for you. Like that's a lot of responsibility to put on others. And as we talk about taking responsibility, came this idea of like showing up for yourself. So like I've wanted to be more physically fit. Like I've wanted to just I'm not necessarily fat or anything like that, but I've never been really strong. Like I started to get strong in college, but I was like, you know what? Like I want to get back into just feeling confident in my skin, feeling confident in myself, feeling just like, taking care of health wise and whatnot.
Yeah.
Don't want to fall behind. So
Yeah.
I've started to just like show up for myself. So like I'll go and lift. And I will like look in the mirror and be like, I'm doing this for you, fucker. Like, come on. And it's this real thing of like, I have to talk to myself to be like, hey man, like this is purely for you. Like, this is not this is not in vain. Like this is all like important to do for yourself. And I think that something that I kind of had fallen off with towards the end of my time in Minnesota was taking care of myself and showing up for myself.
Well, I think that's like kind of what I would like to talk about is just different ways. Cause I think it's really important because in my work, like what I'm doing right now, we spend a lot of time talking about how health and well-being and mental health and all of it, spiritual, physical, whatever, is really individualized, right? You have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the difficulties because you read all these self-help books and whatever, and people say, oh, if you do this, then you're going to feel healthy, successful, whatever. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't work for me, right? And I think it's really important. Like, that's why it's important to, one, spend time actually knowing yourself, like figuring out, like, hey, what does work for me? And then actually putting that into practice, like showing up every day and making sure that, I'm doing this for my mental health, not my physical health, not for some girl, not for, the multitude of fans on my podcast or whatever. Yeah. But
the millions.
the millions and millions and billions of people out there watching. But no, I mean, it's a matter of like, okay, this is important to me and I'm actually going to make it happen.
Yeah. And I mean, going into, motivation for certain things, like I've talked to some guys that are big into lifting. Like they lift, they look good and all that stuff. But the problem is that they were lifting because they thought they needed to be big to seem attractive to women.
Mm.
And I was like, you are lifting for the exact wrong reason. Like you are well, and then that's how can, body dysmorphia is a really big problem in the lifting community and whatnot. And that sometimes can stem into that. Specifically, like I've talked with Emmett. He thought he had to be absolutely shredded to be deemed as attractive, right? Like he just needed the muscles for women to be like, oh, I find you attractive. And I'm like, no, buddy, like it's a nice bonus, but it's not essential, right? Like I had worked with him, one of my therapists now, but I had talked with him sometimes and been like, hey man, you know why like the family likes hanging out with you? It's not because you got big muscles. It's because we love you and you have a good personality and you're fun.
Yeah.
Like you have a great laugh. You're always goofy. That's why we like you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for any girl that you run into. That's why they're going to like you. And now he's in a relationship and, well, somewhat of a relationship. And he's like, I don't even
still undetermined.
It's undetermined. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But he's like,
at some point.
He called me the other day. He's like, yeah, dude, I don't even like going to the gym anymore. And I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, dude, I spent so much time there. But just because he's happy, like he's, he's still physically
and he's
fit.
Accepted, right? Like
yes,
somebody.
He's not worried.
Yeah.
That, I need to be doing this so that this girl still finds me attractive. So I think it's very important, like when you're starting to do something, is to just change the mindset of like, I am doing this purely for me.
Yeah.
This is for no one else. Like, I think it's important to just like take care of myself because that's like a big thing. I talked about this year wanting to like gain my confidence back. And I think I have. And now it's kind of changing into like, I just want to take care of me. Like, I think for a long time, I've tried to take care of others and really put my effort into how can I make other people feel good? And now it's like, hey, you know what? Take care of yourself first. Once you get that done, then you can focus on others.
Well, that's an interesting concept too, because I'm thinking, because I've always thought like I can be an island, no problem, right?
Yeah.
Like I can just be alone and I can take like, if I do things correctly, I can kind of do everything myself and I don't need anybody else. But I've also begun to realize just recently, and granted, I mean, half a century of trying to figure this out, but I've realized that if I take care of myself, I'm more able and willing to let others take care of me too.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I always thought it was the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like the more you take care of yourself, the less you need people.
Right.
And as I'm finding out, it's like the more I feel good about myself, the more willing I am to let others in and be friends and connect with people like on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's really cool. It's amazing. And I hope that's kind of the magic of this podcast. It's just, it really is an exploration. It is really you and I learning about life in real time and just coming together and being like, holy crap, like this happened and this is happening and I'm figuring this out. And for me, that's a huge realization. Like I have fought that my whole life and it's just, it's kind of bizarre to me, but the better that I feel about myself, the more I'm willing and the more I kind of want to connect with others. For me, I just think the better that I feel about myself, the more that I do for myself, the more I'm able to do for others, maybe. And
I'll comment on it. So as you're saying this, so I've gotten to a point where I feel more confident. Excuse me.
Commercial break right there.
Commercial break, yeah. As we've talked, I'm taking care of myself way better, doing way better emotionally, mentally, everything, financially, all that stuff, confidence-wise. And people can tell, like people are starting to kind of comment on it, which is nice.
Well, like also, like we've mentioned this before, but you can actually see how people are doing inside based on their outside, right? Like when I'm not doing well, everything looks saggy, everything kind of looks drained. Like you can physically tell when I'm not okay.
Yeah.
When I am okay though, there's like a radiance. Like
Yeah.
And with you, I can definitely like the minute I see you, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
Rowan's feeling it right now.
But with that being said, there's something weird about where the better I'm doing, the more people are interested in hearing about what's going on.
Oh.
And when you're doing really bad, I think people are kind of like afraid to kind of like step into like what's going on, and then you're like, well, things are good, and they're like, nah.
It's like Eeyore, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to hang out with Eeyore?
Yeah.
It's like a freaking battery drain.
Yeah. So I think that goes along with what you
I
were
really
saying.
liked Eeyore. Like Eeyore is one of my favorite characters.
Of course it was.
So I would love to hang out with Eeyore, but yeah, I could only handle Eeyore for X amount of like 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah,
and then I'd have to be like, Eeyore, buddy.
No. Mine was Tigger just because he was jumping around all the place and whatnot. So
it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, I was a very energetic child. Weirdly enough, I don't tell many people. I won't share it. Never mind. I was going to reveal something that's so strange about myself, but not needed. I'll tell you after the podcast. Maybe if we get Patreon one day, we'll have an exclusive where I tell you guys.
Oh, man, what a teaser. Well played, my friend.
But yeah, I mean, just as I've taken better care of myself and I've been around people, there's just more of an interest in kind of what's going on in my life, which is kind of cool. Not to say that, I'm constantly getting asked like, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, people still only care about themselves in some respect, but people are a lot more approachable to me about those stuff.
I think there is some validity and there is science behind it for sure. But when you're feeling good, you're putting out positive energy and that attracts positive energy, right? Like you kind of manifest, like I always thought of that as like total frou-frou nonsense, just BS. But as I've gotten older and as I've kind of learned a little bit more, and as I've seen in my own, like the number one thing, like when I show up at work, no matter what's going on in my personal life, I put on a show. I make sure that I'm happy. I make sure that I'm positive. I make sure that when I come into the room, I have energy, right? And it's totally opposite of what I actually am. But like, it's important because that's what people respond to, right? And they need, like, especially a lot of the kids that I work with, they need kind of my positivity to kind of get themselves going and to kind of connect with.
I mean, if someone's already in a really bad state of mind and you come in like, hey, what's going on? Like, it's not going to be a good conversation. It's going to make anyone feel like life's great, you know? So.
No, but it's just, it's clearly evident to me that there's so much more involved than just what you say or whatever. Like,
well, I'm curious for you. This is something that I experienced, so I can now talk about this. My previous job, I worked at Lifetime Fitness, which was a gym. So kind of shit on them a little bit, but sorry about that. But I worked at Lifetime, and one of the things I had to do was anytime someone would come in, I would have to, like really be jovial and say hi and like welcome them in. Same thing with them leaving. And there were days where I just was like, going through it and I just was not happy. I'd walk into work and I'd be like, oh God. And then as I would start to kind of like put on the performance of like, I'm really happy to see you, it actually did change my mood. Does that happen to you when you're in school? Well,
the science behind that is like, if you actually smile, even if it's a fake smile, like just the act of moving the muscles, right? It takes a lot of muscles to smile.
Yeah.
But physically, physiologically, mentally, you begin to change your brain chemistry. You begin to change your whole body chemistry, and you do become happier. Like
it's crazy. Like I had one day specifically where I started at work. I was like, I want nothing to do with this. Like it was my last few weeks. I was like, there's no point in me being here.
Yeah.
I got all this stuff on my mind.
Yeah.
And then as the day went on, I started to have a better, more fun. And I was like, man, God damn it.
Well, if you smile, you get that one hit of dopamine, right? Mm-hmm. But if someone responds to that smile and smiles back to you, it's almost like exponential, like the amount of return that you get. So the more that you physically smile yourself, and then when you get the return smiles, the factors are just, it's crazy. But it's smiling is like fake it till you make it, is that in that case,
it's
real.
It's
absolutely
real. Like It genuinely helps. And it's a lot, like I said, or like you said, I should say, it is a lot easier when someone else is reciprocating it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you come in and try to be really jovial and like smiley and they really respond in a positive way, I think you just kind of like build off of each other's energy and then you can both kind of just like get out of that funk, if you will.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite things to do, because like a lot of the kids that I work with are super surly. Like they're just like not having it. And they kind of pride themselves on being just a little bit like they want to bring you down.
Okay.
And so I just come bouncing into the room like Tigger, like I'm just like, pow, and just like, just like laughing and joking and just like having a great time. And they're just like, quit it. Like, I hate it right now. I hate you. Like, just get out of here. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Like, what do you want to do next? And like, just bouncing around the room. And they're just like, ugh. But then eventually,
it's like, infectious.
If you do it long enough, they will just be like, okay, fine, I'll play a stupid game or whatever. And like, then like you'll get like one smile and you're just like, oh, yeah, man, I did it.
I got it.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
So no, it's absolutely, that's a real deal for sure. But I'm interested too, because like on the opposite kind of end of the spectrum for me is I sometimes I come home from school, like if I'm working like a full day in a school, I come home and sometimes I'm just physically depleted. Like because it's been a day of faking it, right? Like just doing everything I can. And I just come home and just like zonk out for like hours, right? Like I just don't have anything left.
Kind of like disassociate maybe?
No, just like all the energy is spent.
Okay.
Like the reserves are totally empty,
Gotcha.
right? You went in with a full tank and then
it's gone.
You didn't get anything back or whatever. And so I think that kind of shows the importance of like who you surround yourself with and maybe even like what you do to kind of recharge for yourself, right? Like, and just paying attention to where you're at. Like for me, like when I get to that point, it's really important to be alone, right?
Yeah.
I'm very introverted, but it's just, it's just all of that stuff plays into,
for me, I've actually learned it's the opposite. Like, and I think this will be fun because me and Highland talked the other day. So in my new line of work, like I have the same thing. Like I try my best. The sphere of influence might not be the greatest. So when I come home,
it is not the greatest.
I'm kind of like, just like I'm just trying to like shed all the weight and just the nonsense. And what really helps me is not being alone. It's going out. Like I have some buddies here in Peoria that will like go out to like a bar or something, get a pizza, and just like chat. And this idea of having a third place.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about yesterday. So, like the first place is your home.
Yeah.
Second place is your work.
Yep.
And then the third place is this place that's kind of like, would you say like a safety social battery charge? Because that's how it is for me. Like when I go there after work, I forget all about the work. And then I can it's crazy how important friends are. Like for so long, I thought I didn't really need that many people in my life. But oh man, it's huge.
I think if there's one thing that you and I can, like, we haven't talked about this before, but like one thing, okay, I'll just state for me, you know, you don't have to back it up, but if there's one thing that like I could say in this podcast, just like as advice, like I'm really, I don't want to tell people how to live their life, but
stay in your lane.
Go get some friends. Yeah. Like go get some real friends, not some freaking internet friends, not like friends that and a lot of my students are playing D&D and I'm totally jealous. I'm like, what the heck? How come I wasn't like, cause when I went to high school, like the D&D people were kind of considered nerds and
like oh, that's you're a geek.
Yeah, like you weren't cool if you played D&D.
Yeah.
And I was always like, it sounds kind of interesting. Like I feel like I might be interested.
I am a dungeon master myself.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
I'm like all these students are telling me like they meet every Saturday and they just like they're just like sometimes they don't even get to the D&D because they're just talking or walking or having fun. And I'm like, oh my god, that's like the best connection. Like you guys are the best friends. But like go get those type of friends. Like where you're playing D&D, you go to the bar, you go to get a pizza, you go take a walk, whatever it is. But but please, please, please
I
get
mean,
some friends.
just having people, like, for instance, right? So I've been kind of around internet friends, if you will. Like, I play video games with my brother and whatnot, and it's like sometimes it's fun to play video games with them, and it kind of gets you out of that funk. But it is nothing compared to when I'm actually physically around other people, because they can see it. Like, they can see on your face that
Yeah.
you're upset or something's on
Well,
your mind.
and you have the whole body to read, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're online, you just see.
You just hear the voice. Like, you don't see anything. So then, like, someone might be hiding into what's going on.
Yeah.
And if if you've ever been on a phone call with someone and they're talking about something they're upset about, like, yeah, you can try and help them talk through it and whatnot,
Yeah.
but you only kind of like scrape the surface of really helping them kind of feel good about it. But being in person, like, you can replicate like seeing the smile and all of that stuff and like laughter and all those things. Like, you can really boost how you feel. So I will say to the people that do just have internet friends, like, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But I will say, like, once you start to try to plan to meet each other. Like, get in front of other people. Like, it really, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life either, but like, for me personally, it has helped me tremendously. Like, Highland's the guy I hung out with the most in Minnesota and whatnot.
And obviously we saw how that turned out.
Yeah. And, but, as I've been in Peoria, I got some buddies here. So Nick Lyons, Greg Boyer, Alex Chang, these guys that I've been hanging out with a lot, that I've known from high school and just from a young age. And it's been so great to like reconnect with them, to like feel that kind of like kinship and friendship. Like, it makes me feel like a little kid again. Because when we talk, like, we just click back.
Yeah.
And it's so infectious that now, like, we're regularly hanging out with each other. Because when I first got here, they didn't hang out that often. And I was like, no, we're going to hang out more. Like, I'm not going to do like once a month. Like, no, I will be pestering you to hang out. Like,
nice.
I need it. And I think you guys need it too. So like, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
So start pestering your friends and be like, hey, I'm coming over whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Let's pester each other. Let's pester the heck out of each other.
I genuinely think because, like, I had this thing with COVID and whatnot. I was very like, I don't like to make plans. Like, I did not take responsibility for anything. Like, I was like, if something happens, like, people got to invite me. Now I've flipped the mindset. I'm like, no, I'm going to come around.
Yeah, let's get active.
I'm going to, like, you're going to either enjoy hanging out with me or ask me to leave. One of the two.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we're going to go there.
Yeah.
I think too, what was I going to say? Something. Somebody told me recently that there's nothing really like high school friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely true. The kids that I grew up with, I'm still friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Two of them I live close to. And then like I keep in contact, but there's just something about high school friends. So if you can keep in contact and just there's something magical about your friends that you make in high school. You can't, like, as you get, like, you're not quite, like, you're not too far removed from high school, but you just never. It's almost impossible to replicate.
And I also think it's something about just like where you come from. Right.
Well, shared experiences, everything.
High school, like, you're all in the same hometown. So like, there's something about us Peorians being around each other. Like, we can get it,
Yeah.
Whereas I talk with other people, they don't have the same mentality or the same mindset. That's, I think, why really I struggled so much in Minnesota, is because everyone is born and raised there.
Yeah.
And I'm this newbie that's like, I don't get it. And they're like, whatever. So, all right, we got to take a break. I have to pee so bad. I'm going to die.
Oh,
so sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like, having friends, it's hugely important. Like, it's crazy. For a while, I thought that I didn't need to have friends, specifically my time in Minnesota and Chicago. And it really affected a lot of the relationships I had and what went on. And now that I'm kind of like prioritizing it, I'm seeing such a social benefit of just like me feeling confident who I am and being able to talk to more people and just getting out there. Like, it's hugely important. And I think these are all things that aren't really ever talked about as like important lessons to learn, because when you go to school, it's more like the fundamentals of, math and social skills or not social skills, but, like, what you should learn. But
no, social skills outside of, like, social skills, like, a lot of times in teaching, like, SEL and things like that, it is individualized. What you can do as an individual in certain situations. And it's like, yeah, but what about your friends stepping in?
Like, I mean, having a community is huge. Like the confidence it can give you, like something that I joked about with my friends last time we were out, but I was like, all my friends like aren't really talking to the ladies right now. And I'm like, we got to change that. Right. We got to get you guys out of your comfort zone. Like start, like they're like, they want to be married, but I'm like, how are you ever going to get married if you don't talk to any women? Like you got to start now. It's not, they're not going to run up to you and be like, God, you are so handsome and bald. Please be my boyfriend. Like, no, you gotta shoot your shot kind of deal. So the thing is, the point of that example is that what friends can do is motivate you. Like they can push you in a positive direction.
Yeah, there's all sorts of benefits, right? Yeah. I mean, that's just one of so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, this is, I think, a good place to stop for this first episode. So
well, and yeah, I just think like I'm just really happy to be back. So
yeah,
I hope that was like that couldn't have gone better for me. That's exactly what I'd hoped for. So
yeah,
hopefully we can continue to kind of like push the bar and just kind of make things better and better each time. But yeah, super excited to be back, buddy.
Yeah, man. Well, if you want to ever reach out to us and share your stories or have any questions, you can reach out to us at nopeopod@gmail.com. The book is available in the podcast description. We are available on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Also, if you want, you can check out my Instagram where
also
I post
Apple, apparently.
Apple as well.
Yeah.
I just never threw that in there, but we've always been available in there. We're available anywhere you can find podcasts, Nopes and Opes. If you want to check out my Instagram, I post funny like little shorts and whatnot. That's
super funny.
Just Rowan.handled on Instagram. You don't have to follow me. But yeah. So, well, with that being said, thanks guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys in the next one.